Hello everybody, my name is Linkus7 and I'm a speedrunner and streamer for CLG or Counter Logic Gaming. I'm most known for speedrunning The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD. Now, I've been around the speedrun community for quite a long time. I joined all the way back in 2012-2013, and because of that, I've seen a lot of speedruns, and I thought what I'd do today is break down my picks for some of my favorite moments in general, speedruns in general, to hopefully give you a better insight into a game where you may get into speedrunning yourself. Now, you might be wondering, first of all, why do people speedrun? Well, honestly, it's just to give extra life to an old game. After you've beaten a game enough times, it's not that much fun anymore to play the game. But if you keep adding new challenges, such as looking for glitches or, just beating it faster, you can add a competitive aspect to a video game that is normally single player that you normally wouldn't have any, fun playing more than once. So, that's the idea of speedrunning in general. But without further ado, let's get right into the list of my top 5 favorite speedruns of all time. Now, the first speedrun I want to go over is Super Mario Bros. 1 on the NES. Now, this is a very popular speedrun. It was one of the first speedruns ever. It was actually featured one time where a runner by the name of Andrew G actually did a speedrun in front of Miyamoto himself at a showcase, which unfortunately didn't end too well, with him ended up dying and didn't even complete the speedrun. And one run that stands out in particular especially is Darbian's speedrun. Darbian had been grinding for the record for a very long time, and the Super Mario Bros. Speedrun looks like a kind of a simple speedrun, but it has so much more going on than you might be imagining. For example, the frame rule. So, if you watch a speedrun of Super Mario Bros., you will notice that all speedruns actually end up only having a difference of about 0.3 seconds every single split. They either tie it exactly, or they're 0.3 seconds ahead or behind. And that's because of the frame rule. So the game actually only checks every 21 frames if Mario has completed the stage and if it should take him to the next level. And because of that, you can only save or lose time in increments of 21 frames. And because the game runs at 60 frames per second, that's about every 0.3 seconds. And because of that, it means that to actually save time, you need to save 21 frames in movement, which means that some stages are pretty nice because if you have a lot of time to spare for the same frame rule, you can waste some time. But another, the strategies to save these frame rules gets absolutely ridiculous. For example, if you go to the first stage, you need to do a glitch known as a flagpole glitch, which requires multiple frame perfect A inputs, as well as frame perfect D-pad inputs to go right and left to clip inside of the flagpole so you can do the animation just ever so slightly faster to make another frame rule. It is just absolutely insane how incredibly just optimal and precise these glitches and the kind of speedruns have gotten. And it's just a very fascinating thing to see that you can beat Super Mario Bros. In under 5 minutes. So it's definitely something I would recommend. Now, for the second and third pick, I'm going to go into the N64 generation, and I think these games are kind of intertwined in a timeline of when they became really popular, but they are still dominant in the speedrun community to this day. And that is going to be Super Mario 64 as well as Ocarina of Time. 2 runs for me in particular stands out. First off, Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time with Narcissa's 1810. This run was massive. Basically, Narcissa was doing this grind when she was almost 12 hours a day grinding Ocarina of Time 90% to try and optimize the record ever so slightly. And after months of doing this, she was able to get a run going on an incredible pace. But her goal was just to get about an 8:20, 8:30 time, but she got on what we like to call the God run, which is just an absurd run. There is only 2 single mistakes in the entire run. Only 2. Otherwise, perfect RNG almost entirely. Amazing execution. And it was when she had to pause buffer to progress 1 frame in the game for an out of bounds clip to skip the Mido, which is the guard that stops you from walking to the Great Deku Tree. She accidentally paused 1 frame early 2 times, costing her about 4 seconds. But that was the only single mistake in the entire speedrun. The rest was basically flawless and perfect. It was such an incredible run. Then she released a commentary version of it to go into the history of speedrunning, which blew up online. And she went on interviews and she got picked up by news articles, and this run just blew up. And it was just such a big milestone in the speedrun community because it was one of these goals that was just unbeatable. It was ended up being beaten eventually after a long time of grinding, but it stood as the God run of Ocarina of Time for a very long time, and It was just an amazing moment to see live, and I really recommend you all to go back and watch it because it is an amazing speedrun route to this day. And moving on to Super Mario 64, around the same time period, you had Siglemic. Siglemic was grinding for the 120-star record, and he did a challenge back then where he was going to do 12 hours of Super Mario 64 every single day for a month straight to see how far he could push the record. So 12 hours a day, no matter what, for a month straight. And he has went absolutely insane during this month, and it was incredible to watch. And these streams could catch as much as 20,000 plus viewers, which is already big in today's Twitch. And we're talking about 2012, 2013 Twitch now. It was one of the most watched Twitch streams on the entire platform. This is when speedrunning was actually mainstream on Twitch. And it was just incredible to see. And it is still being grinded to this day. Recently, there was a fantastic moment with one of my good friends, Cheese, when he was at an event known as Break the Record, which was one of the first competitive speedrunning events, where basically you got challenged to get the best time within a weekend of speedrunning the game, and the person with the best time ended up getting a prize, and on top of that as well, if anyone was able to beat the world record and get a 138, they would get an additional bonus prize. And not only did Cheese win this event, but he set a brand new record in a marathon setting under all the pressure. And it was just such an incredible and heartwarming feeling, and his reaction was just absolutely amazing. And it was just such an amazing thing to see live, and this definitely blew up, and it was so great to see out there. Now, for the fourth pick for my favorite speedruns of all time, I want to go into Barrier Skip. Now, this definitely is very close to my heart, but even with my bias, I do believe that this is one of the biggest moments in speedrunning in general. Barrier Skip is one of these holy grails. If you don't know, if you go down to Hyrule, you actually can see Ganon's Tower, which is the way to reach the end of the game, straight away when you boot up the game. However, you can't access it because there's a big barrier in the way, and it has been sought after for years. I'm talking like since launch of just many different methods to just attempt. It would even become a thing where people every single year would make April Fool's jokes, trying to just be like, hey, I got Barrier Skip, when they were using cheat codes in the background. So it just became a massive thing about who can get Barrier Skip. And after over 10 years after launch on the HD version, in 2017, it was finally able to be completed in an RTA setting and understood in April of 2017. It had been performed before, but no one knew how it worked. But in April of 2017, we ended up figuring out how it worked and how to do it. And it's just this incredibly precise glitch where basically there's just this one pixel in between two invisible walls that meet up that happen to have no collision. So if you have a perfect angle and you're like almost pixel perfect on this place, and you have enough speed to go through this invisible wall in one frame, then the game's gonna fail to check the collision, you're gonna pop through and you can skip the barrier. And it's just so precise, and the fact that this was actually found after so many years is absolutely mind-blowing. And this is one of the biggest time saves in any speedrun as well. The speedrun before was about 3.5 hours long, and after it got down to 1.5 hours, and it now sits at 53 minutes. Now, back in 2019, we found ways to do it on the GameCube version in either the form of overloading the RAM in the game, or by using a bomb to push you through this pixel, which means that the GameCube speedrun now went from being almost 4 hours long to under an hour long as well. So that's another 3-hour time save right there. So it's just incredible to see how far Wind Waker has come as a speedrun, and it's definitely one of my favorite moments. And a lot of people got into watching Wind Waker speedrunning thanks to a very popular video by Terran. He uploaded a video, it has about 3 million views as I'm making this video, which kind of just breaks down the lore and the history of the holy grail of speedrunning, which was Barrier Skip. And it was just such an amazing feeling to be part of that when that happened. A little bit of an honorable mention before I get into the number one spot, and that is going to be Streets 112. Even if you don't know how GoldenEye speedrunning works, I'm not even going to explain the mission. But just watching this video, if you watch Streets 112, you get pumped, you get excited. It doesn't matter if you don't understand what's going on.
Right here, it's this one. My insane pace. Right here, this is the 112. Right here, yes!
It's just so heartwarming, and it just gets you excited and going for the day. And it's just such an amazing speedrun to see. So it's definitely a big honorable mention for one of my favorite speedruns out there. And last but not least, my number one pick would be the Super Mario Odyssey any percent grind for the sub 1 hour. This is a bit more of a recent event, but I thought it'd be important to include some more recent events, because for me, most things that stand out to me is things that came out in 2013-14. But Odyssey sub 1 hour grind was definitely one of the biggest events. Basically, it was this race for who could be the first person in the world to get a time under 1 hour in Super Mario Odyssey. And it got really intense because a total of 3 people was capable of it at the same time. So one person had a 1 hour time, one person had like a 101 or 102, and then another person had like a 110. Basically, there was 3 people within 10 seconds of getting to sub 1. And I cannot even imagine how hard it must have been to get that 1 hour flat time, being 1 second off the sub 1 grind. And it ended up being a situation where all 3 of these runners were grinding 12 hours a day, every single day, just to try and be the first one to say that they got the sub 1 hour. And on that beautiful evening, Nicrovita was able to pick off the sub 1 hour and be the first person in the world to complete it in under an hour. And this run was just absolutely fantastic. And it definitely was one thing that helped put Super Mario Odyssey speedrunning on the map. So that's definitely a speedrun that I really recommend everyone to check out. But with that being said, that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content here on the CLG channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one. Later, everybody. Bye-bye.